Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles, a podcast dedicated to uncovering the strategies and insights that drive innovative, disruptive businesses. Join us as we explore the mindsets, cultures, and solutions powering the next generation of industry leaders and creative trailblazers. Whether you're seeking to inject new life into your organization or spark transformative growth, the Visionary Chronicles is your guide to executable, cutting-edge business strategy. Welcome to the Visionary Chronicles. Thanks for being with me today. Always appreciate your time. And hopefully you'll find again today's episode insightful and one that you can carry with you on your leadership journey as well. Today we're going to talk about a visionary trait in almost every leader that I've been around, and I just recently finished my book, and it's going to be released on June 30th. It's called The Visionary Leaders, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. You'll see it shamelessly over my left shoulder here. But welcome back to the Visionary Chronicles, and where we uncover visionary leadership, innovation, and long-term success for you on your journey to leadership. And today we're going to talk about Futurecasting, 5 key principles on the power of strategic foresight. And it's a really interesting subject because foresight is kind of a precursor to vision. And so when you set your vision, you're really effectively empowering futurecasting. And in this episode, we'll delve into the transformative power of strategic foresight and how futurecasting applies to this foresight, the ability for leaders to anticipate future trends and strategically position or adapt their brand ahead of change or disruption. It's really a principle of reacting versus responding. Brands that don't have, number one, first and foremost, a vision, and then strategic foresight, will react to everything, versus brands that have a visionary at the top, someone that has ingrained into their entire team with passion and authenticity the brand vision and has foresight on how they're going to execute and drive that vision. I talked a little bit about this last week as well, as vision meets execution. If you haven't listened to that podcast last week, it gives you a little bit more context on what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to keep it a little more focused on strategic foresight or futurecasting. And I love the quote by Peter Drucker, which is the best way to predict the future is to actually create it. So that's from Peter Drucker, and I couldn't agree more on that statement. 100%. The best way to predict the future is to create it. Very few of those, especially when you talk about commodity companies, don't predict the future, nor do they create it. Only visionary brands are able to do that. Now, you may have some companies, I don't always classify them as brands, ones that have the one-hit wonders, that don't really have generational success, are really ones that don't embody that execution process that's so valuable and necessary for you to become visionary. So strategic foresight is not speculation. It's a structured approach to future readiness. It empowers leaders to uncover weak signals, analyze industry shifts, and craft ongoing dynamic strategies that keep their organizations relevant. And again, let's go through that context again of that sentence so you can understand what this podcast is about and what we're talking about with futurecasting through strategic foresight. It's a structured approach to future readiness. That's the context of strategic foresight through futurecasting. It empowers the leaders to uncover signals that they find weak, meaning that if there's something they see that is driving a market, an opportunity that you see trending, and the signals are strong now, but they seem to be tapering, It's something you need to be aware of intuitively on a future foresight standpoint. You analyze industry shifts and craft strategies that keep your organization relevant. So in this talk today, in this podcast, we'll explore how companies like Amazon, Netflix, Lego use foresight and forecasting to pivot and innovate before the rest of the world would catch up with them. So whether you're building a startup or steering a legacy brand, mastering foresight can be a competitive edge that leads to sustained generational growth. And so the first question I always get asked in strategy sessions that I have with Liquid Mind when we start talking about positioning a brand or, let's say, reinvigorating a brand, baselining a new startup with an entrepreneur, legacy brands, it's just reestablishing the foundational pillars of what the brand stands for and setting the vision and the goal for the future through strategic foresight. So what is it? It is the discipline of identifying emerging trends, anticipating disruption, and designing strategies for long-term success. So you'll see the kind of antithesis of this is that, when we talk about anticipating disruption, I often talk about you need to be disruptive to be successful. You need to be the baseline for what your category is going towards or a service people are wanting or needing. So anticipating disruption is a strategic foresight. You may disrupt, but if you don't have a vision or a strategy to execute the future of that disruption, you need to anticipate someone else stealing your thunder. So you need to design strategies for long-term success. So strategic foresight, again, is the discipline of identifying emerging trends, anticipating a disruption, and designing strategies for long-term success. And why does this matter? That's another question I often get. Well, it enables proactive leadership versus reactive leadership, and it is not reactive in a crisis management mode. So it enables proactive leadership, not reactive crisis management. The second thing is it fosters resilience in you and your team and adaptability. Think about when you've gone through issues with the brand, issues with your team, disruptive, chaotic environments. What have you done in those situations? It fosters resilience and adaptability. And again, I go back to COVID because that's the most recent on everybody's mind is the ability for you to adapt and move forward, but not lose sight of your vision. That's critical. It equips teams with the ability to spot opportunities ahead of time. So whenever you have futurecasting in your leaders, the ability for them to see the vision of where you're going and how to achieve and execute that, you have the ability to equip your team with to spot opportunities ahead of time. So again, why does it matter? So I've got 3 points here. It enables proactive leadership, not reactive crisis management. And it also fosters resilience and adaptability in your team and your brand as a whole. It gives you longevity, generational success opportunity. And the third piece is it equips your team with the ability to spot opportunities ahead of time. Who wouldn't want future anticipation of things coming down the pipeline and you knowing it's coming, and you've anticipated it, and you've responded, not reacted? So we're going to talk about 5 key leadership focal points on futurecasting and strategic foresight. What do these look like? So I'm going to give you examples of not only what this looks like, but also brands that have executed or implemented it. So the first is futurecasting leadership, vision foresight. It is a method of envisioning multiple future scenarios based on current and emerging trends. That's the first thing. And then it also helps businesses create long-term roadmaps aligned with potential realities. So you don't always have all the answers, but you at least journeyed down the road of a trend that may be going the other direction so you can adapt. The third in the Futurecasting Leadership Vision Foresight section is it encourages innovative thinking that breaks free from the short-term limitation. And when you look at brands that have actually executed on this Futurecasting leadership, it's used by the greatest technology brands on the planet. Apple, Tesla, and also the greatest consumer brands. So it crosses both boundaries. Just because you're a CPG or consumer products brand does not mean you can't do futurecasting and foresight. Many people that I talk with say, well, that's a technology thing. Apple can do it. Oracle can do it. We're a consumer brand. We can't anticipate that. Nike does it. Nike to stay ahead of the cultural and technological curves in the industry. We work with them on that. So they understand that unless we can anticipate the future and have a likelihood of knowing what the end result is going to be, we can anticipate the future growth trends. So the first is Futurecasting Leadership Vision Foresight. Number 2 is embedding foresight into your leadership culture and build future thinking into your strategic planning cycle. Meaning that don't always think near term. Come up with anticipated foresight of, based off your vision, what do you think is coming down the pipeline so you don't get run over in anticipation of it and not being able to respond before it's too late and you react. So you empower teams to monitor weak signals and explore what-if scenarios. You just don't want to go crazy with it. And what I mean by that is that, again, if you see a trend, are you going to be late to that trend, mid-cycle with that trend, or end of trend? So you need to understand when you monitor weak signals and explore what-if scenarios. Yeah, it may be a great opportunity, but only if you have the vision and the ability authentically to continue to grow that opportunity into the future and execute it flawlessly. So embedding foresight into leadership culture is point 2. Number 3 is establish a foresight, what I call affectionately the FBI. This is the FIU, the Foresight Intelligence Unit. So build a cross-functional team responsible for tracking emergency trends, analyzing global shifts, and presenting scenario forecasts. This dedicated team that you have becomes your future radar. And I tell you, the teams that have executed this flawlessly, it's actually a fun team to meet with because they're really given no boundaries. And really what you want is someone that understands the future. So you've got past, present, and future, all 3 of these scenarios to deal with as a company. 90% of companies deal with the past and the present. The future is left to the crystal ball. So what you want is a foresight intelligence unit, whatever you want to call it. And this is one that several of the brands that we work with had come up with. But it's really a cross-functional team responsible for tracking emergency trends, analyzing global shifts, and presenting scenario forecasts to you. It's a dedicated team which really becomes your future radar, the one that tells you what to anticipate on the future of where we're at with the vision and the next steps to ensuring our long-term growth and becoming generational. So that's number 3. Number 4 is integrate foresight into innovation pipelines. I often talk about innovation pipeline. If you do not have an innovation pipeline and you want to know what an innovation pipeline is, I have a podcast on that. So go look at that innovation pipeline podcast because it actually goes through this in detail. So for our discussion today, I'm just going to say if you don't have one, you need to start building one. And visually, I love it when I can explain things visually where most people understand what I'm talking about. And I had affectionately called this an innovation pipeline because Steve Jobs had built an innovation pipeline that was 100 feet tall at Apple when he left. And they've been surfing it ever since. But eventually that wave crashes and you need to get off and make your own innovation pipeline. If not, you get put in a position of where Apple is today with really no products that have been innovated since Steve has left Apple. Think about it. They've got services business. That was part of the ecosystem that Steve had built. But you really need to have as an innovation pipeline. I don't care if it's a product or a service, whatever it happens to be. It says use trend insights to feed your R&D and product innovation cycles. And this is where one thing I really talk about with the innovation pipeline is adaptability. And adaptability means taking something that you would never thought of from a product perspective and applying that to your product. And I use the Nike Flywire. Nobody had ever built a knit shoe before by design because it just structurally wouldn't hold up. So Nike looked at suspension bridges and looked at the wires and how they constructed these bridges and applied that to Flywire through Vectran threads. And it stabilized the knit shoe, and it's never been the same since. Everybody's adapted to this. But Nike was the first to invent it. But it was an adaptable technology, and I talk about this on the Innovation Pipeline podcast. So again, it's using trend insights to feed your R&D and product innovation cycles. This ensures that you have these new offerings that align with where your markets are going, not just where they've been. So it's a past, present versus future. Number 5 is leverage external ecosystems. So engage with futurists. It's the Steve Jobs poets. I hire poets. I hire artists, where other technology companies hire electrical engineers. You hire poets, those that are futurists, academics, startups, those in think tanks to gain diverse outside perspectives. Visionary leaders know innovation often comes from beyond the 4 walls of your building. So make sure that you have these external ecosystems. So again, these 5 key leadership, please, take a look at these. They're in the show notes, the podcast notes, but 5 key leadership focal points on futurecasting and strategic foresight. Number 1 is futurecasting leadership, vision foresight. Number 2 is embedding foresight into your leadership culture. Number 3 is establish foresight intelligent unit. Number 4 is integrate foresight into innovation pipelines. If you don't have an innovation pipeline, build it. Yesterday, build it. You need to have it. I don't care, again, if you're a product or a service. Number 5 is leverage external ecosystems. Engage with futurists, academics, startups, think tanks to gain diverse perspectives that you don't have. And some of the real world examples, which I thought are interesting as well, that have adapted this futurecasting is Amazon. They invested in cloud computing and people thought they were nuts before it was mainstream. And look where they're at today with AWS. It's crazy. Most often when people think you're crazy is when you have your best ideas. The next is Netflix. They futurecasted the decline of physical media and built a streaming empire. I mean, who doesn't know of Netflix or has a subscription to Netflix? Lego saw digital interactivity as the future of gameplay, and they leaned into tech partnerships and storytelling. They just didn't stick with the physical. They went to the digital. So again, let me give you some final thoughts on futurecasting and strategic foresight that hopefully help you and kind of pull this all together. But strategic foresight, anchored by tools like forecasting, turns uncertainty into opportunity. That's what you need to think. The strategic foresight, anchored by tools like futurecasting, turn uncertainty into opportunity. Visionary leaders prepare not for what's just next, the past and the present, but what's possible. They don't just adapt to the future, they design it. They make it. They realize it. So this is your opportunity as well to deploy this weapon of futurecasting. But make sure it's authentic. Make sure it's something that you're committed to and something that you adopt. And it'll be something that you'll find as you continue to put this into your strategic foresight through Futurecasting that will be adopted throughout your brand, company, organization, whatever it may be. And you'll find success once it's adopted. So thank you again for tuning into the Visionary Chronicles. I always say, if you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, or, stay where you can stay updated on these insights into our core principles of leadership, innovation, and brand strategy. So please subscribe, leave a review. It's very, very much appreciated. And also, for me, it's really important that if you find something valuable, that you share it with your network. Don't just leave it to you. For me, I'm all about providing wherever I can so you can benefit. So stay tuned for our next episodes of Visionary Chronicles. Got a really cool series coming up. We've got the Becoming a Visionary Brand. I was looking at it on my cheat sheet here. 12 episodes on becoming a visionary brand. We just finished up our 9-part series with the Road to Visionary Leadership. And we also have a series coming up on that I'm affectionately calling Visionary Interviews. It's inspired from my new book I'm going to be releasing in the end of June, called The Visionary Leader, The Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. It's over my left shoulder here. But we're actually going to be, through the power of AI, interviewing these visionaries. So you can imagine how intimidating it will be to interview Thomas Edison, Albert Einstein, Steve Jobs. That's what we're going to be doing. And we've spent the last 4 to 5 months just trying to figure out how to do it. So I think we got it nailed. We're starting to do episodes now. We have Steve Jobs and Thomas Edison interviews in the bank. But look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles. We'll announce those episodes coming up. And as we wrap up this episode of Visionary Chronicles, I have, an exciting opportunity to share with the listeners out there. It's my upcoming book, The Visionary Leader Success Principles of the World's Greatest Visionaries. It's nearing its release in end of June. And I'm inviting you to hopefully be a part of this journey with me. So whether you're an aspiring leader, an entrepreneur, or just really seeking some personal or professional growth, I feel the Visionary Leader will guide you on your journey to creating a lasting impact, whether it be your company, your family, or yourself personally. So let's take this step together. And I'd like to offer you an ebook, what they call an advanced reader copy, and share your thoughts as an early reviewer. And you can claim your copy. And I've got the link here on the episode notes at BookFunnel through the following links. I've actually got the ebook and the Visionary Leader pre-order, where you can actually order through the sites like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. All of them are carrying the book on pre-release. And again, if you take or were able to claim the ebook, one ask that I would have, please, is that you would leave a review on Amazon if you like the book, if you don't like the book. But we were able to, and we have been getting great pre-release views on the book, which is always great. But again, my goal is always to get this in the hands of those leaders that are looking to become visionary and providing them the resources, the tools, and information to take the first steps towards that. So until next time, keep innovating, keep leading, keep shaping the future. Thank you for your continued support, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. You can reach out to me at bryan@liquidmindsite.com, liquidmindsite.com, and with any comments, any feedback you might have, as well as any questions you might have. So stay true, stay authentic, be different, and be great. And as always, enjoy the journey along the way and have a great day. And I look forward to the next Visionary Chronicles episode.